I would agree with that.
That's the best part of it, so.
Well, I think we're at the
We're at
appointed
12.
hour. It is noon. We were going to convene this objection panel at noon. This was brought to the board yesterday at our meeting, so we had less than 24 hours. We have a maximum of 2 days, so we wanted to get this taken care of as soon as we can. According to code, I understand the objection panel must include the chair of the board, which is me, Connie Hornbeck, the secretary of the board, which is Karen McKee, who is at the end of the table, and then one other person from the board who is not in the area B in which there is an objection raised, and that is Dr. Marshall. I think what we're going to do, and again, we don't have a formal agenda, but we do have an order in which we would like to proceed. And Dr. Kinney is here to answer. He has done a lot. I've certainly asked, and I'm sure others have, for as much information as we could get legally, constitutionally, case law. What are we looking at? It is our first time as an objection panel. Any of those kinds of things, administrative law, whatever is out there, and he's done it. Yeoman's job. Thank you, Dr. Kinney, for getting what we can. It's probably not everything out there, but we think we're pretty close. So I appreciate that. He's going to be here to answer any questions. He's given us some material that we'll be able to look at today. But I'm going to ask Dr. Kinney to kind of go through what our process is going to be to let everyone know the best part of the time, so you kind of know how we're going to proceed. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so again, this was new to me. It is definitely a 24-hour whirlwind. We had two days, so I do appreciate you got everybody here today. I know it was short notice this morning, but I was getting more out of the Secretary of State and everything was flying through. Honestly, I have until 8:30 tomorrow morning, but I know some of us work and we have things going on, so I do appreciate you all coming for that. So I have talked with the Secretary of State. The process itself is that Mr. Holder will be able to make a statement, then Mr. Madison as a candidate can make a statement. At that time, there will be some discussion or questions that would come from the panel itself. And then I think limit those in time, and then any formal statements after that, then the panel is going to deliberate, and panel will come out of that. So what I have received from the Secretary of State is I asked in regards to what I've been able to read that Mr. Holder had provided to me at 8:30 yesterday, approximately 8:30 yesterday morning, asking some questions to the state. Honestly, there is a lot of opinions in the law in regards to it, but it's never really dealt with the board of directors of a community college. But from what I've been able to receive, most panels are done at the state and federal level, but previous panels of the state, the auditor of the state, the attorney general, and the secretary of state have found that the status governing nomination procedures should be liberally construed to the benefit of the electors in order to provide very lawful opportunity for electors to express their preference at the ballot box. This comes out in a matter of the objection in the nomination petition with Paul W. Johnson, findings of fact, conclusion of law, decision in order, page 9, 2004. See also in that same, see also in the matter of the nomination petition of Ralph Nader and Peter Kamemo, I believe is how it's pronounced, findings of fact, conclusions of law, decisions in order, page 12, 204, in our view that the status governing nomination papers should be liberally construed. Also, this is kind of an opinion that's been in a lot of them, that the nomination petitions for primary elections to serve for the purpose of establishing that a potential candidate has sufficient support among the electoral to justify placing the candidate's name on the ballot. And that's been applied in a lot of the present situations in there. So today, the ultimate question for this objection panel must be to answer, do these petitions in the way that they were filed demonstrate that the candidate has sufficient support among the electoral to justify placing the candidate's name on the board? And that came out of the Secretary of State's office as I, in the last 24 hours, and through the night emailing. I was very thankful to them to really help it guide me, us in this process. So.
Okay. let me see your little agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. So,
Handwritten agenda.
yeah, I did a handwritten agenda.
Thank you. We are going to proceed now. We'd like you to maybe take no more than 5 minutes to make your
Sure,
statement.
sure.
Each of you. Again, we will then have any discussion we may have, or primarily for Dr. Kinney for additional information, any questions we'd like to have directly for you. Then we would like to give you a final 1 minute. We need to get this 1 minute if you'd like to have any closing remarks, and then we will deliberate and make our decision.
Okay.
So right now I'm asking you to go first, sir,
Sure.
with maybe 5 minutes of what you would like to.
Okay, well, I'll keep it short. My name's Brian Jack Holder. I'm a graduate of Iowa Western in 1993, and I've run for this office 4 years ago, and I've run for the U.S. House 4 times and Iowa State House twice. So I've learned a lot about election law in the last 7 years just by running for office. But I've got 5 quick points to make. You know, the elections office that we pay money to as taxpayers should be the ones that check and validate nomination petitions and signatures. This burden has been placed upon us as citizens to go in and inspect petitions and stuff, and really, you know, we shouldn't have to do that. This should be something the government should do because they manage the elections themselves. They give a certain objection period to examine petitioners' signatures to see if there's anything in there that may not comply with state code. And in this instance, they give 2 days to examine candidates' petitions. I suggest, and we work with the legislature, that if there's 2 days to object to a petition's candidates, that candidate should have 2 days to correct any mistakes that are discovered during that examination, because I don't think that it's fair. Kirk substantially complied with the law. You know, it's not his fault that people signed it and didn't fill out lines exactly. My second point is that it's the 21st century. You know, we can earn our degree online. We can take classes online. We should be able to nominate candidates online. And the government has databases to know whether this person is eligible to vote, whether they have any restrictions in terms of a felony conviction where if you can't vote, you can't nominate candidates. So we should embrace our technology we have. 3, I think just by running for office, and this one in particular in this case, we should have smaller districts. You know, state law allows reducing the number of seats of a community college board to 5 members. I think the state legislature should change it to allow the expansion to 11 or 13 or some number. You know, this district that Kirk represents, there's 20,000 constituents in it, in the merged area, and I think in the director district, and each director district for Iowa Western is similarly about 20,000 people, and that's a lot of people to make decisions for and a lot of constituents to reach out to, and so it's a challenging job. 4th, you know, I would ask the legislature to examine possibly coming up with some kind of compensation for community college board directors, because I've looked at the code. There is so much that you guys have to know in terms of knowledge, so much studying, and I think you should be compensated for that representation. And my final point is to add that I think on the ballot, Iowa Western Community College Board of Trustees should be added to the ballot and the office that we're seeking. Right now in Pot County, it just says merged area XIII, and there's some of us, maybe some of the younger folks don't even know Roman numerals. And in our election 4 years ago, Kirk received over 200 votes and I received about 100, but there were I think 70 or 80 people that took a ballot and didn't mark it for either one of us or write anybody in, and I think part of that is the confusion is they didn't know what merged area 13 was. But I think if it said Iowa Western Community College Board of Trustees, and a lot of the other community college districts in Iowa, when they have the election, on the ballot it says the community college. It'll say Ellsworth Community College or North Iowa Area Community College Board of Trustees, and I think that would help. So now, as the person that objected, I have the right, I claim the right, and I assert it now to withdraw my objection. So that has happened up at the state level. And when the objector withdraws their objection, it means that there's no longer a case or controversy for the objection panel to vote on. So as far as I'm concerned, and as far as my interpretation of the law and the Secretary of State's directives, there's really nothing for you to vote on to determine whether removal is in order or not. So, and I want Kirk on the ballot, and I want him to win. That concludes my...
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
And may I just ask you this question? Your withdrawal of your objection has been made formally?
Yes, it has. Yes.
Okay.
Right now.
Right
or
now.
verbally.
Okay, this is what we can, and we will record that.
I'll have
Yeah.
to let so yesterday I had to inform the county that there was, and when we were having an objection, so after this, I have to call them back to give the rendering, which now will be that.
The withdrawal
the
is
objection has been withdrawn. So then it will move forward.
I appreciate that. I would like to give a little time to Kirk.
Sure,
to
absolutely.
respond, or do you have anything to say?
My name is Kirk Madsen, and I have represented District 7 since 2007, and was up for re-election, and looking forward to that process once again. I might add that I've known Brian for a long time. We've grown up together. We've battled on the basketball courts on many fronts, and I think a lot of the points that he makes are valid. I think there are changes and there are things that we potentially need to look at with the election process. And through his objection and all of this, it's certainly been eye-opening for me too, as a person who is going out to my constituents and eliciting signatures. And, you know, there are details, Brian.
Yeah.
And, you know, a couple of your objections are on me, but I need to do a better job of following through with that.
No, it's, I don't think it's on you.
But I agree
We
with the
trust
point
our-
that we need.
We trust them to sign it, right?
We do,
Yeah.
but it's also my job to make sure it's correct. You know, in saying that, and Brian can probably attest to this, door knocking right now in our political climate is not very friendly. You go out to your constituents and people are not willing to open the door for a variety of reasons. We're in very, very difficult political times with social unrest, the political climate that we're in. And I can tell you as a person out there, people are angry. And it's tough getting signatures. And I think they're afraid to come to the door because they think you're selling something or you want to push your political agenda on them. And I'm kind of going on a rant here and off topic.
No,
but
you're right on
it's the state of our nation right now. And it trickles down to the local level without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I do look forward to the re-election. Hopefully I can represent my constituents in a positive manner. And Brian, I appreciate you withdrawing.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And one of the, if I can add, one of the people I went to sign who signed my petitions previously to run for Congress, they're under quarantine for COVID. And now they still signed my petition, but that day, or that evening, I immediately, I didn't quarantine their petition, but I took it home because I didn't want anyone else to sign it after they had signed it. So I took it home and put it in the sunlight and stuff. But, you know, it's like you said, the political climate, the civil disagreements that we have. But I think that doing this kind of stuff, being open and transparent, and, you know, you guys, I didn't want to cause you to have a fire drill over the last 24 hours, but, you know, I'm glad that I found this. 4 years ago, there were probably some people that signed my petitions that were right outside of the director district, because I live right on the edge of the line. And those petitions were accepted by the county elections office, and I very well could have been in the same spot. But, you know, allowing, if the government would double check things and allow us a time to correct it, to add a few, I would have signed Kirk's petition. And I'm sure he would have signed mine if I was a few short. So I think there's ways that we can all work together to improve this process, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, panel members. I guess we're we're done with our official panel work. I do want to say thank you to both of you for bringing forward. I know I've learned a lot about this, and I know one of the things I might say is that, I live in I have merged area school districts, and I'm old, and I know when I go out and ask for petitions that occasionally I haven't thought much about it. Rather than putting down the school district in those words, might say, it's the Logan Magnolia School District. Might say, I'm from Logan. What school district?
Right,
Logan.
right.
Because that's how we have identified for many years. And the intent was, of course,
Oh, yeah.
correct.
Right.
But I think this is something that you've brought to our attention that we will all learn from and be able to give some advice. And I know when I go to gather petitions again, I will be looking at every one to make sure that they are. You don't always know, like you said, if they're just a little over the line or something.
Right,
We don't.
and oftentimes the petitioner, you take for granted that that is what they have. And Brian, like you said, what is the checks and balances in
Yeah.
that process then
Right.
from there?
Right,
Yeah.
and it obviously is not here.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't, they go somewhere else, we don't look at those, but if they're going, and that's certainly a good question that I think Dr. King is willing to say. I think there have been some questions that brought forward we'd like to have some clarity on, so maybe some
Oh, yeah.
at the state level. So.
And to your point, kind of like the Logan district, and when I had TJ,
That's right.
okay, it's a school
Yeah.
district in
Right.
Council Bluffs.
Right.
And I can see how Brian, you as, let's say, AL or St.
Yeah.
Albert would put AL district.
Oh, yeah.
And,
And that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
think that the intention is there, and I think that's might be what was intended. But again, it's how you identify in your area, and especially for some of us who have not been in these merged areas for our
Right.
whole life, we identify very strongly with the community in which we live. Might say Magnolia,
Yeah.
AST might say Avoca.
Right.
Because that's what they, and so I think those clarities someone needs to be able to look at that, and I appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Obviously, the TJ kids are in the Council Bluffs district, but, there's the written law, but then the spirit of the law,
Yeah, the
the people
intent.
that signed the
What-
intent was, they know they're Thomas Jefferson is part of Council Bluffs district, they just didn't put Council Bluffs. Unfortunately, the code says you gotta put the specific school district, and then they don't give you any time to correct it. Simply going to those 5 people and saying, just correct it to Council Bluffs would, yeah.
And yet their intent was by no means.
Right, there's no intent
There's
to
no nefarious.
defraud anyone or anything, and it's unfortunate that this kind of stuff happens, and I thank you guys too for accepting my petitions only when I presented evidence that there were some things that we needed to discuss and get resolved. When I was objected to a year ago by a prominent Republican when I ran for Congress, he just submitted an objection letter making mere allegations. He didn't document, he didn't provide any proof, so the Secretary of State's office should not have even accepted his objections. But I thank you guys for doing your due diligence.
Thank you. I might ask the panel before we walk out, do you have anything to add, Aaron?
We don't.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Marshall.
I think a couple of points that you made in your opening remarks, I thought were extremely valid for today's day and age, and what I'm asked to do is defining the ballot better as to what people are voting, or who people are voting for, what position. And I have only run once, having been chosen to fill a space that was vacant, as you're probably well aware. But I was rather surprised that I found my name listed under a district that was not defined as what it represented as.
Right.
And I think your point is extremely important, that in order to improve voter understanding and the intent of the voter, they need to know what they're actually voting for. And so I think that we need to do something about that ballot and make it well aware, or make the voters well aware that this is to vote for a board of trustee for Iowa Western Community College and the district in which it represents. And that should be defined on there. And I don't know how we do that, but I think it's time to make that
We're already looking into that. I'll be honest, I'm already looking into some of this. We had a great conversation yesterday morning when he brought the objection into me. And I've asked Aaron, I think we send it in as Iowa Western, not merged area. Why does it get to merged area? Now, I think some of that's going to be back is how we filed in 1966. So I think there's some things that we can do. So today, I'm going to ask the question, is on the ballot, can it say Board of Directors of Iowa Western Community
But who
College?
makes up the language of ballots? I think where we need to start.
That would be the county elections office.
The elections office, which is a group of people that are,
The county, the elected county auditor.
so the auditor is the one individual that approves the ballot.
Yeah, that
And
approves the ballot.
so they would have to change it based on their committee's recommendations. Would that be?
They may have unilateral discretion to,
It's not state mandated as far as the term.
well, that's a legal question. I'd recommend contacting Secretary of State Paul Pate, and he's got a legal counsel, Molly Wyden, that's very good.
She's been giving us some advice.
Yeah, so I've dealt with
Well,
Molly.
I think we need to take action on that ASAP.
I'll work on that
For
one
this
today when
upcoming
I
election,
call.
quite honestly.
Yeah, because I think that's part of the problem with some of the undervote, is people just not understanding what office they're voting for, so they just decide not to vote at all for that office. But they may have voted for school board because they know which school district it is in.
And the other, just to make a comment regarding your proposal of having this be a paid position, I would be against that. And the reason I would is, this is kind of like a community effort that a person would volunteer their time and interest for because of how important it is, with no financial gain one way or the other. Unfortunately, we all know a few people that run for offices based on the remuneration, which sometimes clouds their issues and makes it a little bit dubious as to why they're actually there other than just the money. I have facts, and I'm not going to speak for names because I don't have any, but the intent might be that. And if we are not compensated other than just the thank yous that we do get and the appreciation we get from seeing such a successful organization, I think is plenty. And I would really like to see this remain as a
Oh, sure.
board that does not get compensated.
Well, it is a nonpartisan position, right?
Yes.
But some of us may see that when a former Speaker of the Iowa House and a prominent Republican is a member of the board, it's tough to say that it's nonpartisan. I'm not saying that you bring that into this office, but to totally discount the fact that to claim it's nonpartisan, like the city elections are nonpartisan in Iowa, but we all pretty much know who's with this party or that party.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think that we can avoid that. Everybody has their own opinion. And,
Yeah.
And of course, we're elected based on, unfortunately, not that an elected knows why they vote for us, but they would entrust us to make the right decisions, and not based hopefully on a political view, but upon good judgment. And so I think in our community, just like for a lot of the city offices and county offices, a lot of that is bipartisan or non-political. And I think that's good. In our area, we're kind of lucky to have that.
Yeah.
But I think people should be of independent mind and not be swayed so much by that many. But I did appreciate your comment.
Oh, thank you.
Again, thank you all for
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I think we're.
Okay, all
Thank you
right.
very much. for
Thank
coming
you.
And meeting us.
Oh, you're
Meeting with
welcome.
us this quickly, and we all look forward to, what is the date of the election?
November 2nd?
November 2nd.
November 2nd,
Second.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. He's had